establishment says Ted Cruz is too conservative. He's too much of a fighter. He won't get along. I say, you go, Ted.
Carly Fiorina ended her presidential run a month ago, then surprised many yesterday by endorsing Ted Cruz. And Carly Fiorina joins us live now here in Miami. Great to have you here on set.
Great to be with you. Nice set.
I know. These are some pretty sweet digs.
Yeah.
I know.
Yep.
So there are still 4 candidates on the Republican side in the race. Why did you choose Ted Cruz?
Well, you know, I ran for president because I believe we need a real conservative in the White House. I think we need someone who's actually going to challenge the system and the status quo. And I've watched Ted over time. I said when I was running, characters revealed over time under pressure. He stuck to his principles. He stuck to the substance. He is no doubt a real conservative, and he has challenged the system ever since he arrived in Washington, D.C.
It's been pointed out that you have not always been a fan of Ted Cruz and have said some critical things about him. Let me play those for you.
President Obama wanted this shutdown, and Ted Cruz played right into his hands. Everybody could see this train wreck coming. I think Ted Cruz's tactics were wrong. There's no honor in charging a hill that you know you can't take, only casualties, although Ted Cruz maybe got name recognition and money along the way. Ted Cruz is just like any other politician. He says one thing in Manhattan, he says another thing in Iowa, he says whatever he needs to say to get elected, and then he's going to do as he pleases.
Okay, so back then you were talking about sort of how he would flip-flop for political expediency. What's changed since then?
Well, you know, first, Ted and I have disagreed on tactics. When the Democrats were a majority in the Senate, I didn't think we were going to succeed in repealing Obamacare, but we've never disagreed on goals. Obamacare has to be repealed. It's not working, it's failing the majority of Americans, and it's crushing the economy. And I think Ted Cruz has been remarkably consistent about his principles. You know, we can play this game all day long, but here's what I know. Ted Cruz is a principled conservative. He absolutely is challenging the status quo, which is why he's made enemies in Washington. I think people are known not just by their friends, but by their enemies. And actually, he's the only guy who can beat Donald Trump, and we need to beat Donald Trump at the ballot box.
He does seem to have more than his share of enemies in Washington. I mean, his Senate colleagues have described him as unlikable, and almost, you know, it's hard for them to work with him. Isn't that a problem for a president?
You know, one of the things I've learned from personal experience is when you challenge the status quo, which is what you have to do to lead, you're going to make enemies. You're going to do more than ruffle feathers. You're going to make enemies.
But as president, wouldn't he have to work with his colleagues and even Democrats?
Yes, absolutely. But he also is going to have to work, most importantly, for the American people. You see, the system in Washington is corrupt. It's incompetent. It favors the big, the powerful, the wealthy, and the well-connected. And Republicans and Democrats are guilty of preserving that system. That system has to be challenged. Ted Cruz has challenged it from the moment he arrived in Washington, and it needs challenging.
As you know, Donald Trump is leading in the polls and in the number of delegates. What makes you think that Ted Cruz still stands a chance at this point?
Well, first of all, yes, you know, all the headlines are about Donald Trump. For heaven's sakes, he gets more TV coverage than anyone else, but actually we're only 40% roughly through this contest. So we've got a lot of delegates left to gather. I do believe that Donald Trump has to be beaten at the ballot box. And one of the things that gives me optimism is the more people see Ted Cruz, the more people see Donald Trump, the more late deciders are going for Ted Cruz and not for Donald Trump. So I think Donald Trump also is being revealed over time and under pressure. He may want to talk about his steaks and his vodka. Ted Cruz is going to talk about the issues and what the American people need to hear.
And yet Donald Trump had a big day on Tuesday.
Yes, he did.
Bigger than even predicted. So what do you think has to happen to stop Donald Trump? For instance, at tonight's debate, what is the tactic that Ted Cruz or anyone has to start using to stop Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, I don't think you win by getting down to his level and hurling personal insults about tan and body parts. I don't think that works. I think Donald Trump has to be beat on the substance of his record and his principles. So let me just say Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are two sides of the same coin. Hillary Clinton has made millions selling access and influence from the inside. Donald Trump has made billions buying off people like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are the system. They're not going to reform the system. It doesn't matter what they say. They are the system. And so they're going to preserve that system for the big, the powerful, the wealthy, and the well-connected. Hillary Clinton is powerful, wealthy, and well-connected, and so is Donald Trump. We need somebody like a Ted Cruz to come in and challenge that system so the small and the powerless have a fair shot, and they don't today.
You've used the word horrified by how you feel about Donald Trump. What is it that most horrifies you about him?
Well, you know, Donald Trump is peddling a big lie. The big lie he's peddling is that he's in it for the little guy, that he's going to reform the system. He's not in it for the little guy. He's in it for himself. That's why he asks his supporters to take a loyalty pledge to him. Ted Cruz said yesterday in his rally that's exactly backwards, and Ted Cruz is right. The President of the United States, when he raises his hand and takes an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, is pledging loyalty to this nation and to its citizens. Donald Trump is not in it for the American people. He's in it for himself, just like he's been in it for himself all his life.
Would you consider being Ted Cruz's running mate?
Oh, you know what? That's such a long way from now. Right now, what we need to do is make sure that Ted Cruz wins at the ballot box so that he can beat Donald Trump and then go on to beat Hillary Clinton.
Do you miss the campaign trail?
You know, I love the campaign trail, but I have to say, when I got a month at home, that was pretty sweet, too.
Carly Fiorina, thanks so much.
You're
Great to
welcome.
have you on New Day. Always nice to talk to you.